Hey everyone, Michael Makrowitz with Coldwell Banker Realty, and we are in 2025. I'm really excited for this year. I fully enjoyed all the time with family and friends during the holidays, but I'm back into a routine, ready to make this a really successful year. A part of that for me is keeping you all updated on what is happening with our local housing market. So let's look back at what happened in 2024, what factors contributed to what we experienced, and then after that, what we can likely expect moving forward in this year. So just like last year, let's break down what happened in 2024. I predicted lower interest rates. Wrong. That did not happen. A lot of people were expecting that they would. A lot of buyers put their search on hold into the later part of the year, thinking that the rates would come down. But between an overall strong economy and inflation still higher than what they wanted to see, the Fed did limited interest rate drops over the course of the year. And with that, mortgage interest rates didn't change much. Using conforming 30-year fixed mortgages as an example, the average was about 6.9%. We saw a little bit of a dip in September, and then by October, they had shot right back up. Now, I also expected lower inventory. That definitely was the case. We saw the fewest number of properties for sale that we've seen in the last 3 years. I expected that prices would rise. That was also the case. Nationally, they were expecting median sales prices to go up about 5%. I was thinking that the South Bay area would do a bit better than that. And Santa Clara County, for single-family homes, townhouses, and condos in 2024, median sales price was $1,605,000. That was an 8.4% increase from 2023. I'm going to cheat and look at this because it's amazing to see what the prices have done in Santa Clara County. Market peaked in April at $1,694,000. And if we're just looking at single family homes, the median sales price for the year was $1.9 million in Santa Clara County. And this peaked in May at $2,038,000. Now, I also expected that we would see homes selling quickly with multiple offers. That was true for the majority of the year. Started to slow down at the end of the year, which is the typical seasonal cycle. But this definitely applied more to single family homes than it did the condo market. Condos took on average 29 days to sell from the time they went on the market to the time that they accepted an offer. 29 days. That's the longest time period it's taken since 2019. And the prices for condos, they've been pretty flat for the last 3 years. Single family homes, on the other hand, were selling on an average of 18 days. And for the 25 years of MLS data that I have available, that is the quickest that homes have been selling, with 2021 being the only exception where homes sold faster than that. Demand, limited inventory, and correct pricing are the main factors for why properties were selling that quickly. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into each area within Santa Clara County and the South Bay, because we're very diverse in what we have to offer, whether it be schools and location to jobs, and the prices reflect that for each area. So San Jose did decently well, 8% increase. Los Gatos Montserino was one of 2 cities with double-digit appreciation. Cupertino, Sunnyvale were on the lower end as far as appreciation went over the course of the year. Santa Clara did well. Campbell did well. Saratoga really did well. Palo Alto is the other one that had the double-digit appreciation. Mountain View was more in line with where Sunnyvale and Cupertino ended up. Los Altos Hills, much higher price point, but fairly similar appreciation. And Morgan Hill was in that 9% range, and then Gilroy and Milpitas in the 5s. San Jose being the largest city, it's broken up into a lot of different MLS areas where prices also vary significantly depending on schools and location and things like that. So let's break down each area within San Jose. Now, Central San Jose covers obviously downtown, but also pretty far east and west of there, and did decent with 9% increase in value. Cambrian, 9%. Blossom Valley did very well, one of 3 places that had double-digit appreciation. South San Jose is decent. Santa Teresa, okay. Evergreen also knocked it out of the park. Berryessa, good. Alum Rock, respectable. Alviso, ignore that. There's so little data. It's hard to say. Willow Glen, Almaden did great. So for Santa Clara County, the big winners were Los Gatos, Montecito, and Palo Alto, both seeing double-digit appreciations. And then within San Jose, the three areas that also saw double-digit appreciation were Willow Glen, Blossom Valley, and Evergreen. In 2023, a lot of these areas were lower in price than they were in 2022 because of how quickly the interest rates came up. But in 2024, the prices came roaring back up. And I guess two areas that you could say were the most volatile based on how much they went down in 2023 and the percentage that they came back up in 2024 were Palo Alto and Morgan Hill. Biggest dichotomy that I've noticed about this market is now this separation between the single family home market and the condo market. I still believe that, for the Bay Area, and I've heard this for generations, is that you buy what you can when you can. But I think now more than ever, you have to be very discerning with where you buy a condo. Since 2018, the condo market has softened quite a bit. I was looking back over that 7-year time period comparing single family homes and condos. The condo market in the last 7 years has appreciated by 2.6%. And if you compare that to the single family home market, that has appreciated by 43.4%. And much of that had to do with COVID. 2019, that was kind of a softer year in general, but once we got to 2020, it was like, okay, if I'm gonna be stuck at home, it's like I want the backyard where the kids can play and the second room to be the office, and people shifted over to single family homes and not wanting condos as much. But more recently, I think what's affecting the value of condos are, and I'm experiencing this a lot because I've sold a lot more condos in the last few years, is that the loans are more difficult to do and insurance has become more of a challenge. Two things that lenders are looking at when they're deciding whether to loan on a property oftentimes are, is there any deferred maintenance, and how do the reserve funds look for the HOA? If there are large projects that need to be completed, is the money set aside to do that? Or if an emergency comes up and you need to make certain repairs, are there enough reserve funds to cover that cost? The issue that I'm seeing time and time again is that oftentimes they're not. Some of it has to do, I think, with poorly managed HOAs, and in some cases if the residents have not voted for the due increases or for the completion of projects that probably should have been done. The result of this oftentimes is that HOAs are issuing special assessments. So, hey, we need a new roof. We don't have the funds set aside to pay for it. There's going to be a special assessment of $7,000 to $12,000 per unit to cover the cost of some of these bigger ticket projects. And if lenders look at the finances for some of the HOAs and they see that either there is deferred maintenance, there's big projects that are coming up that haven't been completed yet, or the money is not set aside to complete those projects, and maybe now the insurance is not adequate to cover those costs as well, most lenders are saying, this is not a property that we're going to loan on. Now, there are lenders that still will loan on those properties, but expect that your mortgage interest rate is going to be about 1% higher at least, and you may have to have a larger down payment as well. Now, this isn't every single complex. I see some that are very well run. The finances are in order. There's no deferred maintenance. And those are really nice ones to work on when you know it's going to be fairly smooth. But I've definitely had a lot of challenges and a lot of phone calls and back and forth and negotiations to close escrow on certain condo units because of some of these new challenges. But townhouses have fared better, even though they might still have some of the same challenges sometimes with HOAs and insurance. The appreciation there in that same period, that 7 years, is about 17.4%. So not even close to what single family homes have been, but much more than what condos have been for Santa Clara County. Now for just some personal stories to put some bones and some color on the statistical analysis of what this market has been. Because for me, I got to represent about equal number of buyers and sellers, which is the way that I love doing this business, because I love both sides of the transaction for different reasons. Like with buyers, I love sitting down and finding out, okay, what are you looking for? What do you want? Going out, finding it. If a property's been sitting on the market for a while, that ability to negotiate and get a really good value. And more likely with this market, when it's really competitive, just knowing that you beat out 10 other potential buyers to get that property, and everything that I'm doing behind the scenes to make that happen, and phone call after phone call and negotiating, and at the end being able to say, congratulations, here's the keys to your property. That's a really satisfying thing in this business. And with sellers, one thing that I love is the preparation and preparing for the market. Because sitting down and saying, okay, what improvements have you made that we can highlight in the marketing material? But also in the cases where there's work that needs to be done on the house, and looking at the before and after photos, and after you've painted and put in new floors or whatever other improvements that you've made, and when the staging is done and the photos are done, looking at a property that you're really excited and proud to sell, but also knowing that the money that was put into those improvements, you're going to get 3 to 4 times out what you put in. And knowing that I'm going to be able to get the best price possible by doing those improvements, just a really satisfying feeling. So an example of that is a property sold in Santa Clara, and beautiful home, great floor plan, but they had a lot of their personal items in the house, and it was a bit dark, and we said, okay, let's come in here, let's do the floors, let's paint. We changed the countertops in the kitchen, but we didn't do a whole lot else aside from that. And looking at the comparable sales in the neighborhood, you're like, all right, maybe somewhere in the 2.3 range is where it could potentially end up. But then after we had done all these improvements, we ended up at 2.5. And the sellers were excited, I was excited, and you realize all this hard work and preparation and tears that are shed and the stress involved in doing all this is really worth it if you're trying to get the best price that you can. And on the buying side, there was a wonderful couple that I met at an open house, and you're trying to figure out, again, what is the value of this property based on what's sold, but then also calculating in, okay, this is how many offers are expected, how are we going to be competitive in the situation? And calling the agent and her saying, I think we've made a decision, we're going to go with this other offer, and me being able to, in real time, calling, changing, updating our offer, and ultimately being able to win when I was initially told, no, sorry, it's not going to work, and negotiating and continuing to communicate to actually get the house and have my clients be so excited. That was awesome. And a special shout out to the past clients that I got to work with and the amazing referrals from dear friends. That is the majority of my business. That's the way that I love to work. I am so very thankful and grateful for the people that recommended me last year and this year. Please continue to do that. I am very, very thankful for that. So what can we expect for the rest of the year? I always like looking at what I call leading indicators that show where the market might be headed. So let's take a look at those. Interest rates. These are something that I don't expect to change much. The Fed has said they're not going to plan to drop the prime rate much at all. I think mortgage interest rates, they'll bounce around a little bit, but likely stay in the high 6% range. And I think buyers have pretty well settled into this expectation that there's not going to be waiting for the rates to drop. It's just here's where they are, historically pretty low and competitive. Definitely not where we'd like to see them, having known what they were just a few years before, but also recognizing just this is where they are, this is where they'll likely stay over the course of the year. Inventory, that's another indicator of where prices might be headed, because the lower the inventory is, generally the more competitive the housing market is and the higher the prices are. We've started the year with very few properties for sale. I expect that's going to change more so because right now there's less than 1,000 properties for sale, single family homes, townhouses, and condos over all of Santa Clara County. Although I think that there's going to be more properties at the end of the year that come on the market than there were last year. From speaking with escrow officers at a couple different title companies, they're saying the number of orders that we're starting to receive of agents calling saying, hey, I have a new listing, open up escrow. That means that these properties are coming in the next 2 to 4 months, and the title company can have an idea of what the inventory is going to be before actually we start to see those properties showing up on the multiple list service. And there's a lot more orders that are starting to come in. So I think by the time we get into the spring, summer markets, we're going to see quite a few more properties on the market. Now, days on market is another indicator of what prices might do, because the longer a property sits on the market, usually the lower the price is going to be. But 2024 average days on market for single family homes, townhouses, and condos was 20. And about a week and a half longer to sell the condos, but 20 days relatively quick. If you take the median, it's 9, because some properties we're used to seeing them sell within that week. But I expect that most properties will continue to sell pretty quickly, because while I do expect there to be more inventory, I still don't think it'll be quite enough to keep up with the demand. I'm still expecting that we're going to see multiple offers over the course of the year. Another factor to consider is jobs, because I know in Silicon Valley we saw a lot of tech layoffs in the last couple months, and I think the job health of our area specifically is going to impact the real estate market. So we'll see how that progresses over the course of the year, but that's something that could inadvertently affect values. And overall, I expect that prices are going to go up this year. Maybe not to the 8.4% appreciation that we saw over the course of last year, but I could see it being in the 5% range. But regardless, if you're a seller, there's never been a better time to sell based on price. 2024 is the highest the prices have ever been in our area. Now, if you're a buyer, again, I've always been told in our area, you buy what you can, when you can. Trying to predict the market, in 2016, I was thinking, okay, this is where the market cyclically should start to cool off. Since then, prices have gone up another 80%. COVID came. I thought, if anything's going to cool off this market, it's going to be COVID. Then the prices went up another 33% from there. Then interest rates more than doubled in a 2 to 3 month period. And I thought, if anything is going to cool down this market, it's going to be that. And it did temporarily, but then, as you saw, another 8.4% appreciation in the last year at these higher interest rates. So Michael, what you're saying is that you're horrible at making predictions. Yeah, I guess I am to a certain degree, but what I'm actually saying is that the housing market is so unpredictable in the short term, and that's why you really have to evaluate your motivations and reasons for buying. And I always say, look at this from a long-term investment perspective. And that's if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint. You need a place to live. Buying, you have the write-offs, and in our area you can pretty much count on the appreciation, but you have to be in that location long enough to ride the potential ups and downs of the market. So consider your priorities very carefully. Are you in the location that you want to be? Do you have the floor plan that you want? Do you have the school district that you want? Because wherever you end up, I'd say, if you're there for usually 5 years, then you'll be in good shape regardless of what the market does. Because if you're happy with where you are, whatever the market does really doesn't matter to you until it comes time to sell. For myself, I'm very happy where we are right now. At a certain point, we might have to consider different schools and what to do that with the kids growing up now. But that's something that we've planned for, and when we bought, knowing that we were going to be there for at least 5 years. Buying and selling both require a lot of planning and preparation. I'm actually meeting with a friend this evening to start having just a preliminary conversation about the process and how to plan. And if you're in the same boat, either on the buying side or the selling side, I'd love to sit down with you and have that conversation. So cheers, here's to 2025. Let's make it a good one.